This is Sue Dougan.
Thank you, Louise. Good afternoon from BBC Radio Cambridgeshire. We've got our first chat room of the week coming up later on the afternoon show from 2. And we welcome into the chat room today two private eyes. I think the conversation today could well be quite storming. We are talking to Private Detective Nigel Parsons and Isla McKinnon from Answers Investigations. So what do they do? Do they sit in their cars all day long drinking coffee? Hunting out ne'er-do-wells? Are they grizzled ex-coppers? We'll find out later from 2 when they join us in chat room.
The Chat Room on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire.
It's where the county gets talking. Today in the chat room we welcome two private detectives. Two private investigators. We'll welcome along Nigel and Isla in a little while. If you'd like to join in with the conversation, you most certainly can. 08459 25 2000. We'll ask their opinions and yours as well on body language, particularly the handshake, as one MP says it's unhygienic and undesirable. And in a change from what we normally do, an excuse to talk with two people who do a rather unusual job. Nigel Parsons and Isla McKinnon are from Answers Investigation. They join us down the line from our Surrey studio today. Both, good afternoon. Hello.
Hi there.
Hi. You are Private Eyes.
We are indeed.
Hey. Nigel, I know you've been in the business for a while. Isla, it's coming up 2 years or so since you entered the trade.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What made you want to do it?
Well, I mean, I got in through a friend. I started doing some mystery shopping for the company to do with Challenge 21, buying cigarettes and alcohol underage and that sort of thing. I went in undercover and attempted to buy these things, and then we report back to the staff, the managers, and let them know whether their staff are asking for ID or not.
Okay, so you like the idea of a bit of undercover work like this?
Well, definitely. I'm a bit of a drama student, so I like that. So I went in, obviously, and did a couple of days of mystery shopping. I was then asked to come into the company and do some logging of some results of some computer forensics. And I haven't left. That was 2 years ago. All
right, and you're in your early 20s now. And I imagine that the work, Nigel, it does demand that people from all kind of backgrounds, all shapes and sizes, both genders, are engaged in this kind of activity, because you need to, by definition, investigate a number of scenarios, don't you?
Well, the company we work for, Answers Investigation, we're completely different from anybody else in the industry, or almost anybody else in the industry. And I'm sure people have always got this conception of some guy in a trench coat and a trilby and hiding in the shrubbery and a bit...
I can hear the muted trumpet already. I don't know about you. Yeah. See the cigarette smoke?
Our youngest is 16, our oldest is in their early 60s. And you're right, we just use everybody from different genders, different backgrounds, different people. And I don't think we've got anybody who fits this sort of typified image of the sort of slightly sleazy private eye that I know sits out in people's minds. Actually, do you know what? I heard the beginning of the show, we were still in the office, and Ida was stamping her foot and threatening you awful because you called her a grizzled ex-copper.
No, I called you a grizzled ex-copper.
Well, I'm neither grizzled.
I know she's a sweet, young, charming thing.
Go onto our website, which is answers.uk.com, and there's some photographs on there, and I think that will take you a long way away from the grizzled ex-copper image.
All right, listen, I think it's going to be a great conversation this afternoon. Thank you for sitting in on Chat Room with us. We will be talking about the stock in trade of a private investigator. We'll also talk a bit about body language, which I'm sure isn't a million miles away from what you guys are kind of looking out for anyway. I'm sure you both are able to appraise people quite quickly from their actions, what you see them do, rather than what you hear them say.
Oh, watch their eyes.
Yeah, always the eyes, yeah. And the hands as well, I think, are a bit of a giveaway, but that's just me. So we'll chat about that in just a bit. In the course of the next hour, it's Chat Room on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire with Isla and with Nigel. If you've got questions, if you want to join in, if you've got points, get in touch. 08459 25 2000 is our number. Text is 07786 20 1960, and on email to cams.afternoon@bbc.co.uk. We're in the chat room right now with Nigel and with Isla. They are private investigators with Answers Investigation. And can you permit me to indulge in the stereotype just for 30 seconds?
Sure.
Go on.
Just 30 seconds.
She says, sitting in parked cars for hours drinking drinking polystyrene coffee, rapid-fire clicks of a telephoto lens, ducking into doorways while trailing a dodgy dealer. That is my vision of the Private Investigator, and it's formed by endless 1970s telly series. In the chat room today, exactly what does a private dick do? Nigel, you've been in the business for a long, long time. I imagine, actually, in reality, it's not nearly so gung-ho, so exciting as, trailing dodgy dealers and, keeping an eye out for people. A lot of it is hard work.
Well, nobody lets me sit in cars anymore. It's quite a confession. We're all good at some things, and we do a lot of different things, and we're all completely rubbish at other things. And I don't know whether it's been around too long, but I've got the patience of a gnat. And if I'm ever doing surveillance, I've got about an hour and a half's lifespan before I'm getting bored with the whole thing. So generally, most of my colleagues just say, no, don't let him near it, because he'll never stick it through. But
also, I mean, we live and we operate in an internet age, so when it comes to finding people, and I know this is a lot of what you do, a lot of the investigation, I imagine, that you do is paper-based anyway. Yeah, a lot of it's background stuff, and that's been the biggest change in the last few years. I mean, it is the onslaught of the internet and communication and resources. The only thing to remember, and I've said this to anybody else, just because it says it on the net doesn't mean it's so. That is just what somebody has put onto the internet, onto the World Wide Web. And if you can draw the line between reliable sources and just the say-so ones. I mean, we often see this with tracing, in that you can have somebody living at an address, and there'll be a database resource that we've got, not a public one necessarily, and it will state somebody being at the address. Now, the fact is, it's probably a historical thing, and it's not relevant now, and it ceased to be relevant 4 years ago, but it's still there. And of course, people take information like that, and they treat it as gospel, and just because it says it's so, isn't. A lot of the tracing work that we do, if we really get the chance to do a proper job on it, we'll mix it perhaps with some physical inquiries. Even somebody just going up and having a look and making sure that the person you think is living somewhere actually is that person, and not somebody else. And when we talk about people tracing, you're doing that for, I imagine, a variety of reasons. You're doing that to track down people who owe money. You're doing it to track down people who might be named in wills for other legal reasons. Maybe you're looking for missing persons. I mean, your work is a mixed bag like that, isn't it? Completely, all of those. I mean, a lot of the tracing work is corporate-based businesses and solicitors and so forth. But we do a lot of private stuff as well. I mean, I really, really love issues of adoption tracing and finding somebody's birth parents. I don't like the word natural parents, because that's not necessarily so, biological parents or birth parents. It can be incredibly rewarding, but you need to be so sensitive with the whole issue, because it is dealing with people's lives, and there's more than one person in the agenda, of course. Have either of you found yourselves in a situation that has been tricky? Isla?
Well, I mean, I tend to do quite a lot of undercover work for the company. Obviously, I mean, I'm 19, but I can look a lot younger, unfortunately. But I suppose it comes in useful for answers. And if I'm in a situation where I'm going undercover, it's never actually gets the chance to get too tricky, because we take a lot of care to look after everybody. I mean, if I'm going to be going out undercover and meeting somebody, or going out and having coffee with someone that we've been talking to for a while, or something like that, for example, I know that if I'm sitting in that coffee shop, there might be 3 or 4 other customers, and then there's going to be about 6 of our guys surrounding me. I'm wired the whole time, and I can always sort of get out of any situation. So I'm never, myself and our other, the younger set, we're never put into a dangerous situation. And we also tend to do most jobs, with 2 people, save, the boredom sitting in the car for 12 hours, which I do a lot of, and also because you've got 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 2 people looking out for things.
What are the key skills then? Do you have to be, obviously, highly observant? Great memory, maybe?
Definitely. Well, I mean, I think the main thing is you need to be quite quick thinking and able to react to any situation. I mean, we've got, as I mentioned, we've got a lot of younger people. And, for example, we've got a great girl, Lise. She's worked for us for 4 years now. And she's so much fun, really lively, really chatty, really good laugh. But then when she needs to be, she could completely switch on and be so sensible. And she's probably the quickest thinking person we've got. You know, you have to be able to react to any situation. If someone says, you need to follow me, and if I've got to jump out of a car because the person in front of us has got out of their taxi and started walking somewhere, we've got to be able to really quickly, pull over, and someone's got to be there to get out of the car and follow on foot. You've got to be always ready to go. It's things like when we're sitting in a cafe for 4 hours watching the shop across the street or something. If there's two people, if you go to the loo, or if you go and go up to the counter and get a coffee, take all your bags and all your stuff with you, because when you get back to the table, the other person might be gone.
It's like you say, you require several sets of eyes at once almost.
Exactly.
And those reaction times in order to keep up with perhaps the person you're keeping an eye on. Is it often the case that if you're following someone, if you're keeping an eye on someone, you could follow them around a whole town for a whole day or more?
Or more.
Yeah.
Definitely more.
I think last year we were involved in something for 4.5 months. And that was taking up 2 people every day of the week for 5 or 6 days a week. And it can get very intensive, but other times it's a very sort of quick, there in the morning, see where somebody goes to work, and hopefully then job done. Big variety. Every single day is different, but if we've made a plan by 9 o'clock, it's changed by 11. In fact, it's gone out the window by 11. And
is this often 24-hour work as well?
Yep.
Definitely.
I've just seen a look on Isla's face. She just went,
well, I'm getting up at 5:30 tomorrow morning.
And okay, I won't get you to delve into the specifics, but is that to keep an eye on a certain individual?
It is, yeah. I'm going to be going up to South London and sitting outside the house and hopefully finding out whether the person is working or not.
Okay, and these people have no idea. I mean, presumably you're skilled to the extent that you don't give yourself away. You don't make your observations obvious.
No, definitely, and we're very careful. We are very discreet, and everyone's got a lot of experience. Also, when it's things like surveillance where someone might be suspicious, or they might be, worried that they know that someone's trying to investigate them, and they know that they're doing wrong, in fact, and they're suspicious for that reason. We'd put someone like me in the situation where no one's going to suspect me when I'm sitting in my car for, a few hours outside their house. No one's going to think that I'm actually doing what I am doing.
Yeah, they just think that you're a teenager who's hanging out with a friend, maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's more than that, and everybody's got rights, and nobody wants to frighten anybody or cause them any harm, and you need respect. I mean, we're often doing this third-party thing, and it's not down to us to make the judgment.
I mean, I wonder if there's a slight difficulty in your business, in your trade, because we, the public, understand the role of the police, for example. That's fairly clear-cut. They are the people who uphold law. They are authority. I know that you're not enforcing the law necessarily, but do people think that maybe you're working, in tandem with the police? Is there a bit of confusion over where your role actually lies and what kind of authority you have in a certain situation?
Well, things change very quickly. I mean, 5 or 6 years ago, our contact with the police was virtually nothing. It was the occasional non-molestation order or something of that nature. The thing that has happened in the last few years is the whole picture police tracing. Whole picture of the police has changed. Companies, for example, it's very difficult to get the police involved in the corporate investigation unless it's some massive sum of money, and you need to be talking a 7-figure sum. What often happens now is that if a company's got a problem internally, we'll end up doing the investigation work, and if it does go on for prosecution, it'll be that evidence which is then put forward to the police for them to go and bring about prosecution. But then more often than not, I mean, a lot of our clients will want to keep something quite quiet and in-house. I mean, nobody wants to go and get the negative publicity that can come out from if you've got somebody bad working for you.
Yes, exactly.
I was trying to pick my words so carefully there.
I know you have to. It's the trade in which you're working. I'm just wondering if you spend a lot of the business time tracking down, say, cheating spouses. Do people engage you to do that kind of work? Yeah. Still?
It's not the major part of what we do, but I think it's the part that just about everybody enjoys the most, which is quite an awful admission. And you get a lot of surprises sometimes as well. Things are never what you expect they're going to be. You can't, you just can't predict the outcome. But other private clients, probably 90% of the clients are female, which is an interest. And it is never about is he or isn't he, because somebody already knows that. Or they feel
it's a confirmation.
It is. It's empowerment. It's not being the mushroom who doesn't know anything, and when you've been lied to, of trying to sort out the lies from the correct information, and knowing information to be able to make an informed decision. Rather than supposition. Sorry.
In this instance, have there ever been situations where you've investigated what appears to be a lying, cheating, thieving spouse, and actually he's just been going to extreme measures to keep, a birthday surprise secret or something like that?
I think I'd struggle to remember the last occasion.
Yeah.
I wish it was like that.
More often than not, the suspicions are borne out, are they?
Yeah. Or you get some real shocks sometimes as well. It's, there's one that springs to mind, but maybe I perhaps ought not to go into that.
The generals we can deal with, the specifics sadly we can't. Isn't this fascinating, Glenn? Isla and Nigel are private investigators from Answers Investigation, and this is what they do. They know stuff.
They do seem to know a lot of stuff.
Do you know stuff about Glenn and I?
Yeah, but you can't broadcast that. Not on the BBC.
I'm worried what they know now.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, how much background digging you've done on us before you came on our programme today.
You don't. You just don't do it with people that you know, or without reason to. I mean, you've got to sort of keep this in mind. Whatever we do, there is always a reason and a valid reason for it.
Exactly.
And we always get a feel with people who call us when it's not for the right reasons, and we can always say no, and we often do as well.
Can I ask you a light question? This is from Martin in Peterborough. Says, I wonder what Isla and Nigel's favourite TV detectives are, and what they consider to be the most real to life.
Well, I know mine.
Well, telly's telly, isn't it?
I'm addicted to Silent Witness, I have to say. And no, the guy I always enjoyed was Trevor Eve, and this is going back to Donkey's
Shoestring.
You've got it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that programme.
The DJ turned private investigator. Yeah.
I always wanted to be.
Was he police or was he private? I can't remember.
He was a radio investigator. They had a radio programme in Wales, and I can't remember it because I wasn't very old. But
was it Westwood Radio or something like that?
You've got it. And people would ring in with their case, and they'd go off and investigate it for the week.
Yeah.
What's yours, Ina?
I love CSI. I think it's all the science things, and I mean we do fingerprinting and computer forensics, and that's about as close as we get to CSI, and I love it. Get put on my white coat and take someone's fingerprints. Very exciting.
Do you know, it's kind of comforting to know that as professional as you both are, you delight in the fantasy world of the investigator as well.
Oh, it's a passion. It's a complete passion.
Fascinating stuff. We'll come back to you both in just a little while. This indeed is Chat Room. Our two chat roomers today are private investigators Isla and Nigel. You've told us a little bit about what you guys do. What's the worst situation, the worst story, the worst personal case you've ever had to work on, both of you? You've got the benefit of experience, Nigel. There must have been times where you've thought, you know what, this job is just rubbish.
Yeah, generally when it's 2 o'clock in the morning in the middle of central London or March in Cambridgeshire or wherever it might be, and it's chucking it down with rain and your feet are wet.
Is there much call for private investigators in March in Cambridgeshire?
Oh, I couldn't.
You couldn't possibly say.
We can't go into March in Cambridgeshire. Oh, dear.
Hotbed of scandal.
It's absolutely hotbed of scandal.
Cool.
So I have no idea what I was saying now.
when the job really has been quite grim, you've had a grim night, a grim day, whatever.
Yeah, it
hasn't worked out as you thought.
It happened. I got ill before Christmas, and it was a guy who I was following around, and it was all this awful early in the morning, late at night stuff, and I just ended up running myself completely into the ground with thing. But the nice thing is we're all good friends and we're all good mates, and there's always somebody who can just kind of make you smile, or you can rely on each other. And it's very important. People come into this business and they either leave virtually straight away or they're there forever, and there just doesn't seem to be any in between. It's not something that somebody will go into and stop for a while and then move on and go do something else.
Isla, are you fixed on this now? Is this your career?
I don't know yet. I definitely think so. I mean, I'm stuck. I mean, I came in just for a week and I haven't left. So that was 2 years. I think, as Nigel said, it's kind of sink or swim, really. And if you swim, you don't want to leave. It doesn't really get much better. I'm a spy, you know.
Good at being devious, huh?
Well, I don't know.
This is from Elaine, who sends us an email. Elaine writes, my brother-in-law is a private investigator in Spain, and to practice he needs a licence. And he actually went to college to train to get the relevant diplomas. And he apparently is staggered that in the UK anybody can set up in this business. No formal licence or training required. Would your guest welcome that in this country?
Absolutely.
Do you have a code of conduct, even if it's not necessarily by diploma or whatever?
There's an association, but it's a voluntary code of conduct which is stuck to. Now, situational licensing is appalling. I think it was... There's a guy in this industry, a chap named Peter Himes, and he's known as the world's oldest private eye, and he probably is. In fact, he lives quite locally to us. And Peter was a lovely guy, came to this business in 1951, and he was trying to get licensing in 1987. It's all fallen under the SIA. They've now put it off to 2012, I think, was the last I heard. And it's absurd. It's completely ridiculous that anybody can go and set themselves up. There's a lot of wonderful people in this industry. There's quite a few leave an awful lot to be desired, and I should probably get crucified for having said that, but generally it's opinion that's pretty well shared, and it is the lack of licensing.
Yeah. Again, it's what I was kind of talking about before, is that a lot of people might think that doing what you do, you operate in that grey area between what the police do, which is, kind of fixed, there's a line there, and what the public expect, and you maybe operate kind of somewhere on the fringe of that. Is there a suspicion that maybe you break the law in the course of your job? Do people think that?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, we can tell that from the way that people very often ring us up, and it's not from expecting us to break the law. It's the fact the client is unaware that something's illegal. We've got an answer for it. Everything that we do is, firstly, it's legal, secondly, it's ethical, and thirdly, it's moral. And I know that sounds very high and mighty, but our website, well, I know it's a BBC, I'll say the name's answers.uk.com. Go on to our website, and it's open and it's honest. It's got profiles about us as people, it's got how much we charge, it's got what we do, because the last thing that anybody wants when they call us, whether it's a business matter or a private matter, they've probably been down an awfully long road before they pick the phone up. It can't be an easy thing to do, and the last thing you want is secret squirrel hiding under the desk. You need to talk to somebody.
So if we go on your website, then there will be photographs. They won't be outline profiles of someone. They'll be actual pictures.
We don't force anybody in the company to have the photograph stuck out there, but most people actually want it. We're people.
I want your opinions on this in chat room in a little while. We'll break here for the travel news in a second. But last week an MP described a handshake as unnecessary, unhygienic and germ-spreading intrusions, and suggests that some use them to prove the strength of their personalities with bone crushers. Another study that's out today suggests the best way to get your message across to someone is to speak into your intended recipient's right ear.
Pardon?
Apparently. In the chat room today, we'll ask you in a few minutes, do you think you can read body language, and do you know what it reveals about those about you? You two probably have a very heightened sense of awareness of how other people are, how other people present themselves. So I'd be interested to hear from you two how you observe other people. Isla and Nigel are from Answers Investigation. They are with us in a slightly different chat room today on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire. What about you? Do you think a handshake can tell you a lot about a person? We communicate a lot by non-verbal communication anyway, don't we? So are the clues there? We just don't pick up on them anymore. Should we learn maybe to rely more on our instinct? I certainly say that instinct counts for a lot. Anyway, you guys, as private investigators, you must know the giveaway signs when someone's up to no good, when someone's being a bit furtive. Can you instantly tell, Nigel and Isla?
Yes, if they're running away at the time. No, I'm sorry, that was...
That's the big giveaway, isn't it?
No, you can't instantly tell, but people behave perhaps differently than you expect. If we can talk to somebody who knows them first and get a feel of what they're like, and then very often they'll not behave in the way that's been related to us, if that's not too intangible.
Okay. Can you often tell, maybe with hand gestures, or do people kind of adopt a certain way of looking about them if they're up to no good?
I think people have got a different way of looking about themselves to no good, certainly. I mean, as you said earlier, the eye's always a giveaway, it's all up and left or up and right or whichever it is when somebody's lying, but they're just not looking at you, which is always a main indication. People make signals as well, particularly when they're meeting. And I don't know whether they're conscious signals or unconscious signals, but I remember seeing a classic on film afterwards, and we couldn't work out what this person was doing, and when we realised what she was doing, it was quite amusing. Am I allowed to give detail?
So long as it's clean.
Okay.
Being mindful of the time of day, Nigel.
Yes, I'm mindful of the time. Yes, well, yes, it is clean, unless your imagination takes you a little bit further, but... It was we were following a guy, and it was a private and personal matter, and he ended up going up to Manchester. When he got off the train at Piccadilly, one of us had got ahead, and there was a girl there who you'd probably recognise because she's about sort of B-list and C-list celebrity, and I really better not say who it was. Call her Bella or whatever for the sake of argument.
All right, let's call her that then.
Yeah, let's call her that. Yeah, but when our chat was coming up, she kept putting her hands behind her back, and then she sort of met him and greeted him and hugged him and off they went, and then she kept putting her hands behind her back. And we realised later, because some of it had been seen on videos, that what she was motioning was a pair of handcuffs, and when the penny dropped back in the office, it caused a fair amount of amusement, particularly as a very well-known figure.
She was dropping a big hint.
I think it was possibly what they might have gone. So was that clean enough?
I think we.
Borderline.
The lines were wide enough for us to read between them, put it that way. When it comes to handshakes, a well-known MP last week said that handshakes these days are unnecessary, they're unhygienic, they spread germs, and actually some people kind of use them to show off, use them as, to show how dominant that they are. Do you feel we give away a lot about ourselves in the way in which we shake hands?
I sort of want to dominate. I've got another take on that. I think as English we're far too aloof, and I see that every time that I travel abroad, because go to Europe and people are much more personal. And I think we use a handshake as an excuse half the time. It's this formal thing that you can do, and then people, as the MP said quite rightly, do abuse it because they'll try and put the dominant bone shaker in.
We've all been on the receiving end of one of those, haven't we? Oh, please let go.
Oh, no, and the thought that always goes through my head isn't so much please let go, it's just like, why are you being such a fool?
Why does it need to be so strong?
Yeah. Can't this just be this sort of mutual greeting with mutual respect?
But then all of the degrees in between, from people who barely touch hands, people through to those who grasp really tightly, do to my mind give you an indication of what that person is. If it's very weak, if it's a very light touch, you sort of think, well, is there sincerity behind this? Are you really pleased to meet me or pleased to know me? I hate clammy handshakes. Not because they necessarily tell me anything about the personality of the person, just because they're unpleasant.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate weak handshakes when, as a girl, if you're shaking the hand of a gentleman and they think they don't shake your hand properly. Do you get that, Sue? I mean, when someone shakes your hand,
they're afraid to hurt you.
Yeah, they're going to hurt you or something, and I always shake harder then if they do that.
Guys, thank you very much for entering into our conversation today in chat room on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire. Intrigued to hear of what you do. You said, Isla, you'll be up at 5:30 tomorrow.
I will, unfortunately.
On the trail of an individual?
Yeah, I'll be following a middle-aged lady around trying to see where she goes to work.
Okay. And Nigel, when will you be next? Undercover?
Well, I'm not getting up at 5:30 tomorrow, that's for sure.
Leave that to the younger generation, huh? Nigel and Isla, thank you for your time today. A brief glimpse into the world of the private eye on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire, and it's not all styrofoam coffee. Not all at all.